What's up? 2023. Here we are. We starting off punching with the punches. Y'all know what it is. Your boy, aka the Yoda Nose, also known as Jay Infamous, and my man, Rich Before 50, aka Chris.
What's we live and direct. We live and direct on YouTube though. Check
Right.
that out.
We're gonna do some new stuff this time.
Yeah,
Last year was Instagram and TikTok and all that. We're gonna try this new YouTube thing.
that's pretty dope.
They unlocked it. I'm gonna use it.
Oh yeah, definitely a functionality that you need to definitely do your research on and see if you can get in the game in terms of YouTube.
You know what I'm saying? Content is everything.
Content is definitely everything.
And speaking of, you just dropped a word. You said research. Topic of this live is do your own research.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
How important is it to do your own research?
It's vitally important, man. So the reason I thought about even with research, right, was um there's properties that I'm looking at, right? So auction site, I'm looking at these particular properties. They give you the number, which is a starting bid. Typically, the starting bid is based on some back taxes that somebody's paid, right? But what I was able to do is effectively like leverage just the address and the APN, which is the parcel number, the number that's assigned to that particular plot of land with the property, to go and look at county records, to go and look at what houses are selling in that area in order to see what the potential gains could be if I actually acquired the asset and then sold it. Another form of research that I'm going to probably do is go physically look at the property. Although before I do all of that, I've done Google Earth. So I actually looked at Google Earth, put the address in, looked to see what's around the particular plot that I was looking at. I saw that there's a large lake by it. I saw that it sits on a kind of like a mountain type situation, and majority of the land is flat. And all of this research I did by leveraging tools for free. Google Earth is free. The website where you can, the county records is free. Like a lot of this stuff I did for free. However, most people, they don't do as much necessary research in terms of when they're going to buy something, bid on something, or invest in something that can actually help them gain more additional income.
So let me ask you this: when you're doing your research, right? Um, what are key things that you look for from the initial lead entering into the research? Like, is it all Google? Is it reaching out to people in the space in different communities? Is it reaching out to the city or the county assessor? Like, what does that path to research look like when you go into research for that?
So you don't want to get bombarded with just doing so much research to the point that you don't make a decision or execute. So, but you actually answer some of the questions. So yes, I definitely reach out to people that are already in the space or other people to get a different set of eyes, because um, anytime you do something, you can look at something and you completely miss something. You want to find those things that you may have completely missed, even though you might have done an extensive amount of research, or any anomalies. Like, for instance, some years back, I bought a plot of land and I thought I did an extensive form of research, right? What I found was, after the fact, after I had already acquired this land, it was unincorporated. So what unincorporated means is they don't have no city sewer. I'll just leave it at that. They didn't have any sewer system, right?
Mm.
And so had I had some of those additional steps of like having a conversation with some other people in that industry, actually all I had would have had to done was call the the county building and planning department and talk to the director like I did after the fact, and he would have told me that, because that's where I got the information from. Hey, Marcus, I gotta love comments come too. Mark over there talking about, well, you don't know what you talking about. But
Yeah,
anyways,
bro.
but that's some of the levels of research. Not just Google, but being able to tap in with resources like people that already are in the industry, already in the lane, have already maybe even done that before, right? Whether it could be a coach, a group of investors, people that you know, people that are already, or you might even be able to reach out to some people on social media. But when you're in a community, sometimes that's crucial to be a part of a community of like where I could call Jay, or I could call a Monica, or I could call some other people and say, hey, I'm looking at this deal, looking at this, I'm doing my research, I've crunched the numbers, but is there anything I'm missing?
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes you might not have the actual question, or you might not even know where you might be missing something at. You might be like, okay, I've done all of the numbers. Well, did you call the city to see if there's any violations, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a totally different situation too that I had faced with doing underwriting of a particular deal. Like, had we not reached out to the city, we wouldn't have found out that they had over 70 some odd violations on this particular asset that we were looking at, right?
Right.
Because sometimes agents, brokers, they don't disclose the stuff right out the gate, even though, especially on commercial. But like I know residential, like some kind of disclosures, you have to disclose certain things. But these are certain things, man. Doing the additional research, having additional conversations before you pull the trigger, but don't allow you yourself to get in a place where you're doing so much research that you don't make a decision whether it's to move forward or not to move forward, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I think it
Now,
was like, what are the steps? So, of course, doing your Google research, sometimes I mean, it's necessary to spend some money on some software, things that can actually move a lot faster than you. So there's a system that we have paid for that will give me data like people's phone numbers to a particular asset, like giving me records about that particular asset, as well as being able to leverage. It'll do some preliminary underwriting for you. Now, I wouldn't rely solely on that because there's going to be some additional details you may find out from the broker or from the owner or even from tenants. Craziest thing is we were looking at a multi-unit, and I made a post. I did like a little video of where I was at, and people hit my inbox and said, "Bro, I stay there, and the owners haven't done any maintenance. So best believe if you buy this asset." Now they were looking at it from a resident standpoint, not as an investor standpoint, but they still gave some viable information that I needed to take into consideration with doing my research. So
now that's real estate, right? So
yeah,
usually real estate is, um, I would call it like, especially in entrepreneurship, that's usually like that middle step, right?
yeah,
So when you starting off in in entrepreneurship or whatever, the beginning steps is always, organization, getting structured, trying to raise capital and all that to elevate into real estate, especially if you've never done any type of real estate, never acquired any type of properties and nothing like that.
right,
So when you go to start up a business, it's research involved in that too, right?
yep,
So like the last 2 years, you've seen a lot of people going into Airbnb, you've seen a
mm-hmm.
lot of people going into Turo, you've seen a crap ton of people going into credit repair. Like those were probably the top three things, and trucking was probably the close fourth.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody going into or trying to get into it in some form or fashion.
Right,
So just day before yesterday, right before New Year, I think it was on New Year's Eve, no, actually it was that Friday. I got a call. Well, at first I get a text, and that text was, "What do I know about repos underneath the business?" Right? Yeah, and e-commerce was the fifth one. So those are the five spaces that most everybody last 2 years been in.
right,
So so the top was, what do I know about repos on the business credit side,
mm-hmm.
right? And I said, well, that means somebody didn't pay their note, and the man came and hook and took it.
Looking good.
Yeah, hook and took. That's what I know about. You know what I'm saying? repos on the business side. Come to find out, this individual had bought a dually during the time everybody was hyping up the transportation side of trucking and uh hauling cars and hot shots and all this old stuff.
Yeah.
And it dried up. When all the hype died down, it dried up and wasn't getting no loads, so the truck was just parked, and they came and repoed it, but it was all underneath for business. But she PG'd it too, so it's probably going to end up hitting her uh personal credit at some point in time after it all settles down, right?
Mhm.
And when we talking about research, when we look at those 5 industries, uh people don't really do the research to understand those industries. They usually get into those industries for the purpose of somebody hyping up
Yeah.
what you can make in those industries.
Yeah. And so a lot of that is they're definitely shiny objects, right? Okay, this is what people have made money on, and they're showing for some receipts, right? They haven't showed. Most times you do research on certain things, there is a history of things you can look at. You can look at old tax docs. You can go look at old, like when you go in to look at a property, you're looking at like at least the last 12 months of income or rent rolls or whatever. You're looking at data that
Mm.
precedes today, right? And so in an industry like a Turo, an Airbnb, trucking's been around for a while, but it's just different components that have been added to trucking. But even within that, right, they are people are not looking at previous data or previous uh, reports or previous information in regards to how others have been able to be successful and how others have failed and have had pitfalls.
Mhm.
And then uh, a, a part of even with research is every time you go into search some things, you need to be able to find out um, what is your recourse, or what is your what do they call it, like a secondary plan, or what is your exit strategy, right?
Mhm.
Because things don't always happen the way everybody make it look like it happens on the internet.
Yep. Like I give it a perfect. I have a perfect analogy for it, right? If if anybody ever been a fisherman and went fishing, right? And it's a certain time of year where you can go fish salmon when all the salmon is swimming upstream, and you can damn near just pick one up out the water. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? You throw a line in there, so you throw a line, you gonna catch something.
Yep.
Can you have that same success knowing when the salmon not running upstream, you go back to that same lake, can you still be able to catch a fish? Do you
No.
have the skill set to be able to still catch a fish? It's easy when it's 500 fishes running upstream. It's easy to catch. They jumping in the boat.
Yeah.
There's minimum effort involved in it. But when
Yep.
it's out of season, when the hype is gone, it's out of the season, and there's no rush. Can you sustain in that same and be profitable in that same space?
Yep. Yep.
You
And
know what
that's, I'm glad you brought up the salmon situation, because and this is a part of me on the fisherman side of me, right? When the salmon comes out of the Pacific Ocean into the Sacramento River, they are not actually hungry. But it takes research to know that they're not hungry. But why? So why? How are people able to catch them? Because they are agitated, and they have that's a response. That's why they end up biting your whatever your lure that you're bobbing, not bobbing. They call it jigging. When you're
I'm saying?
either jigging for the salmon, and they bite it just out of anger to get it out its way, right?
Mhm.
And so, but if you know that they're not hungry because of the research you've done, you will identify that I need to use jigs instead of me going out there throwing some worms or some kind of live bait out there,
Right.
right? And so you will know how to attack or how to proceed with trying to catch salmon.
Yeah.
And so really dope that you brought that up, because and it's only a certain time of the season that you're going to be able to catch them running through the river, because they're going to go back and die. They're going to lay their eggs and die where
Mhm.
they came from.
Yeah.
In order for you to even know that, you had to have done research. And they
Indeed.
do it a certain time. When Mark had wrote about season, it's a certain time of the season when they're going to go lay their eggs, spawn, and then die.
Mhm.
So
Fact.
within business, even within business, you have to understand and do the research in terms of what season am I in. I'll tell you about something that most people don't know even about Airbnbs, right? I don't care where you're at in the country. If you're doing an Airbnb business, there are going to be some peak moments and there's going to be some maybe slow or maybe even just level moments within an Airbnb space, right? Typically, wherever you are on the globe, meaning like if you're here in Sacramento or if you're in LA, if it's bad weather season or if you're back east where it's hurricane season, what's your likelihood of people vacationing there and them having your unit booked up for 2-3 weeks?
Right, because I don't know nobody going to rent an Airbnb to watch a hurricane.
I mean, it wouldn't make sense. Of.
Right.
So you've got to be prepared for those types of seasons. So if you start, and it's crazy because if you start in the summertime with an Airbnb, you're gonna see all of these, and those are probably the receipts you seeing from somebody that's doing extremely well.
Mhm.
They're not showing you these down
Yeah,
months.
they show you the summertime highlights. They don't show you the winter highlights.
They're not showing those receipts.
They don't show the
They
blue.
showing you when things is booming in the summertime, or when depending on where you are in the country, where the weather is more favorable, because that's when people are migrating to that particular area if it's a touristy location. Another thing is, I mean, and even with the nurses, right? You've got to understand that even within that, and research knows that or tell you, if I'm on assignment, just like the military, if I'm on assignment, they can easily cancel the assignment as well. Most people don't know that.
Hmm.
Like for all the people that do, oh, I'm gonna do Airbnb. I'm not even gonna do Airbnb. I'm gonna do traveling nurses. Traveling nurses. You hear all of these little buzzwords. Those nurses can be on contract for 3 months. You think you're good, locked in for 3 months. You've given them the location for 3 months, but they might end up only staying a month and a half
Hmm.
because they've canceled the assignment, the remaining month and a half of that assignment. So what do? Are you prepared for that? Because you didn't banked in, counting in your head 3 months. Oh, I got 3 months. I'm not telling nobody nothing that I don't know. I know this for a fact because our first booking was supposed to be for a nurse for 3 months, and her assignment got cut after a month and a half.
Hmm.
So you have to be prepared. You have to offset. You have to be able to pivot. But most of this is going into any deal, any transaction, any group with a fair share of research be already being done without always just relying on a few little clickbaits.
Yeah. Yeah. Because even in that same space, right? Like, do you pay attention to what's going on the city council level in the city where that unit is? Like,
Yep.
are you paying attention to the laws that are changing? Are you looking at what's coming up on the ballot in those places to see if those things are going to affect what you're trying to do in your business model? Like all those things matter, even from the aspect of if you arbitraging, right? Like you are even in an arbitrage, you could have a 2-year lease, but you still subject. Like, do you really understand the rules of what the property management have in place for that establishment? You know what I'm saying? When you sign that lease, is it a where they can change the lease and at their discretion without you having no recourse in there for whatever reason they choose to? You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? Because you have some people that arbitrage and don't say that they doing Airbnb, and then you have some that they are forthcoming and say this is what I'm doing. But
Yep.
I've seen it. I know personally. I know a friend of ours, a real close friend of ours, that had multiple units, like 20 some units. That the old property management company let him get down. New property management came in and said you can't get down,
Right.
and
Yeah.
didn't and he didn't have no recourse in that.
Yeah.
And he was only probably, I don't even think he was a year in, maybe a
Mm.
year at the most.
Yeah.
So that whole thing turned bad, and he lost 12 units. So when you talk, and that's one of them circumstances where you really don't know. Like he couldn't predict that was gonna happen, but at the same time, he didn't have a contingency in place for if it happened.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? So even in that situation, like that's a problem. When you talking about transportation, just like the snowstorms and all that stuff that's to hit back east. that affects you. You know what I mean? You should know, like, come wintertime, it's ugly. From the Midwest all the way to the East Coast, every year it get ugly.
Yep.
Sometimes it's worse than others. If you over there, you know winter gonna hit you. So do you got enough cash reserves to keep having to pay, the lease on your truck, the lease on your trailer, and anything else? Did you make enough during when it was popping to hold you over through the winter till when it start back popping again, or at least till when it's weather friendly to clear?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like all of that matter.
But see, but even before deciding to dive into any one of these types of industries, you have to be able to look at, um, as you said, like doing the fair share of research, but like how can or what external factors can affect my business and my business model or my business? What
Hmm.
can affect this positively or negatively? But
Yeah.
sure, what see anybody that's even an optimistic person, right? Optimistic person may look at, oh, the sky is beautiful and everything peachy and rosy. You have to have at least a small segment of pessimistic, or even just a person that's just going to challenge the status quo or challenge the receipts that you may even seen, right? Like, what are all of the negative things that can happen in this particular business, this particular industry, this particular
You not froze, but your audio went out.
yeah, my phone was ringing. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, your camera's off though.
What?
Yeah, your visual went out.
Dang, I need to mute what do you call it? I need to put do not disturb on my phone.
Yeah, that's what I did, so it wouldn't do that.
Boo.
Yeah, you might
All
have to
right.
you might have to flip the camera
Stop.
around, make it flip around one time. Like flip it to the back and then flip it back to the front.
Let me see. I can't even do that. Let me see. Dang, that's crazy. I can't even do that. Let me see. You think if I drop, you think I'll be able to add back or no?
Possible,
Let me
possibly.
see.
We can always see.
Hold on. Let me see.
Well, while he fix out that technical issue, time to shoot out. What's this all about? So in doing your research, you always want to be a part of something where you can reach out and have support, get questions answered in your entrepreneur journey, whether you at the beginning or whether you all the way into it. Good spot for you to do that is the Situation Room. If you haven't heard or you don't know about the Situation Room, it's the best 24/7 access to all your tools and resources as an entrepreneur in the space. So if you would like to join, this ain't no $10,000 program. It ain't no $2,000 program. It's a $50 a month program. You get more value in that in the first day. I promise you. Go to the situationroom.co, sign up, see you on the inside. I'm back to the regular scheduled program. Welcome back, Ghostface.
Hey, I like how you did small, small commercial break.
Right. You know what I'm saying?
Situation
Right.
room.
Mess
So
around and
even with the situation room, one thing you told me, I think you told me some months back about, like, we were just having, I think we were on live and you were saying, how would somebody evaluate something, meaning like, or how would they do the research about something? And I think one of the crucial things you said when we were having that conversation was talk to the people that's in it, or talk to the people uh that's used the service, talk to the people, like, just basically, you have an opportunity to gain some additional information. Now, sometimes some people are going to have a supreme bias about whatever it is they're a part of, right?
yep.
But you have the ability to garner information from more than one person, and they not this ain't no cult type situation where I follow situation room. Like, no, you have an opportunity to ask different people, what's your experience? Like, have you learned anything? How's the communication level? What things are you guys covering? Like, you don't have to like I was having a conversation with somebody and I was like, I'm not just to try to sell you on something. Like, I'm not about to beg you to help improve your life. Like, that's not where I'm at in this mind state. Like, here's what it is. It's of value. Now I get it. Some people like to be, rosy type situation conversations.
Mhm.
They like to be handheld, and I didn't have the time or energy for that. But in regards to the situation room, hands down, you're gonna have conversations. You're gonna have people as subject matter experts, but then you're encouraged to do your own additional set of research. There was a post that was somebody posted just yesterday or the day before, and you told them specifically, like your very first response was, be mindful, do your own fair share of research. Boom.
Yep. Just
Like
watch
that.
out. Just watch out for these potholes because they
Yep.
put you on back. That's it.
Yep. Ain't nobody over here telling you exactly the way, because the saying of there's more than one way to skin a cat. That saying is actually true. Like, there's certain different approaches people are going to take for whatever they do. I'd
Yeah.
like to.
You know what the thing is, right? Is how I look at it, right? Like I understand. Like I try to meet people where they at, so I understand that this individual gonna learn different from this individual. This person may be visual. This person may be a reader. This person may be a person you need to push a little harder than the next person. This person you probably can give them a little bit. They gonna take off, run with it, and turn it into a lot. It's each individual is different, right? So the environment that I try to set in the situation room is that one that everybody is comfortable in there and not be ashamed to ask or reach out for help regardless of where they at. Like
Right.
it's no ego driven thing where I'm here and here you are asking the question down here and I'm up here. Like I'm not even entertaining that question because you should know that. No, because even if you here at some point you was here
Hmm.
and you didn't get there by not answering those questions or whatever. And then sometimes it's experience. Sometimes I could tell you something and tell you, what, don't do this because this is what happened to me, or don't do this because this is what we know was gonna happen. And in doing that, I'm not gonna get mad if you don't take that advice and execute on it. Sometimes you gotta go through it yourself.
Yeah, you said that too.
Yeah. Sometimes you're gonna be like, it may not resonate with you at that time because everybody's situation is different. It be outside factors, life factors, all type of things where you feel like you need to get to this thing faster because you need the outcome of whatever it is that you're pursuing. So you
Mhm.
might disregard what I'm saying because I'm saying no, if you take 3 months and do it this way, this will be your outcome, but you trying to do it in 30 days. So if you
Right.
take a shortcut or you do something or whatever that thing you is that you chasing and you try to shrink it in 30 days and it don't work out for you, I'm not mad at you. But in that thing you learned something. And you could always come back and be like, all right, that didn't work. Now I can double back and be like, let me do it that way now. Or
Yeah.
you could or
Yeah.
you could have got some BS from somebody else that just was all a lie altogether. That it don't even work like that. You know what I'm saying? And now
Yeah.
somebody have to come in and correct all this crap that somebody else done told you.
Yeah.
So you get a plethora of different plethora of different personalities, plethora of different people in different stages, people in different industries, people doing different things. But at the end of the day, it's really about encouragement and knowing that you got somebody that whatever's going on, you can go in there and twiddle your thumbs a couple times and get a response. You
Yep.
ain't lost in the sauce.
The cool part about even what you said about different people from different walks of life, different cities they were born, different countries. Some people I think were born in different places in the world outside of the United States. But anyway, um, you one of the very first calls was an additional form of you being able to do research on the people that will be in the group, right? Because it was a big emphasis on What do you where you are in life? What are you doing? What is it that you're trying to do? And so you're able to identify different avenues in order to how you can approach this individual,
Yep.
right? And when you see different people as they interact, how they respond to certain things, how they interact with certain things, how they execute on certain things. And so even with that analysis, that's research.
Yeah.
And that's searching people and how they move, how they interact, how they how they are morally, how they are in regards to uncertainty, how they are with even with like if there's some lack of information, like maybe like you said, like somebody might have gotten some information that was wrong. It was lack of information. Okay, so how are they going to respond to the fact of them wasting their money on this,
Mm-hmm.
right? Are they going to give up? Are they going, and being able to identify your skill sets to be able to align or to be able to assist in those areas in which they might lack, right?
Yeah.
Being able to fill that void for that individual, and that's part of a bigger picture in terms of like just being in a community or incubator of people that care, and not just about your financial well-being, but your well-being. Like that's kind of what be missing in a lot of these different groups or um, mentorships or whatever you want to call them, and they've got various different names that are really not supposed to be synonymous, but but but, but they use these terms and they like make them like as if it's the same thing. But um so when we talk about the situation room, that's really one of the crucial pieces, is that the people that are in the group have done their fair share of research, as well as encouraging you to do more additional research, but then cultivating a relationship where you're not really like, you don't feel no type of way about asking a question, even if you feel like you might internally feel like your question is dumb. but
Yeah.
but it's like you're getting good responses, you're getting responses, and nobody's like saying, "You see what this dumb up?"
Right.
Oh,
Exactly.
I
And,
think
and the
YouTube said that
thing,
they.
and here's the other thing about it too, right? Like I have a compassion, you know what I'm saying, for the trials and stuff that other entrepreneurs done went through because I done been through them, right? So when I know that somebody that came out of another group where they done paid thousands of dollars and didn't get nothing up out of it, or it was trash, or whatever the case may be, like they couldn't get the individual attention they thought they was gonna get to help them or whatever. That's why I price the situation room like it is, because I know that people gonna come inside, and I don't think $50 is $50 is not a whole lot. It's not $5,000, you
No.
know, because I know most people that come in there, it's gonna be something that they need, they're missing, or they need to add on to make whatever they're trying to do better.
Yeah.
And usually that thing is gonna already have a cost associated to it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So in most cases, you get into a spot and the hype gets you in. So you pay, 4 or 5 figures for the hype, then you get into it, and then the stuff that you need to be able to, what the hype brought you to, it's another 5, 6 figures.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? You don't mess around and spent 20, 30,000, you could have bought a whole business for 20,
Yeah.
$30,000. So it don't
Yeah.
make sense to me to do that. And if you really say, okay, and I don't like calling myself no mentor, no coach. Like people like joke, like Bish always joke talking about I'm your mentor's favorite, you my mentor, favorite mentor, that type. But I don't consider myself that, right? I barely would accept the title of a coach. That's not what it's all about. I'm just trying to build an ecosystem that I can build, that I know people will benefit from, and I get mine out of that. Even including when I add, brought y'all in and different individuals into it to help and put in their expertise, is because it's always got to be somebody. You can't be the only point of view in
Yeah.
whatever. It's because you're gonna resonate with some people more than they resonate with me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? You have to have different personalities and stuff. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? You got to have a balance. That's
Yep.
just the circle of life. You got to have balance.
Yep.
and it can't just always be me because you'll get bored of me if all you hear is me all the time. You'll get bored of me. You know what I'm saying? I need to.
Not me, but somebody.
You
Not
know what I'm
me.
saying? Like, it has to be some form, a little bit of scarcity in there, a mixture, or whatever the case, and then it all balances itself out at the end. So that's the whole objective for the situation room, right? It's a family environment. Like people, when you come into it, like if you went through the Telegram group and you look, like if people have tags next to their name that say family.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's a tone. It's a tone being set. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? And 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 you see, like when you in there, like I talk to each one individual, at least the ones that participate. You know what I mean? You get the ones because we got that zero tolerance list. You don't participate, you don't show up. No, you get booted up out of there whether you paying or not.
Right. Facts.
Because it's not like I said, it's not about the revenue, it's about the impact.
Yeah. One of the things you said in terms of like um, being inside the situation room versus any of these other groups, we have to address the biggest elephant in the room and one of these talking points about, oh, I spent 40,000, 50, because I even done it on a couple of my previous reels and posts about investing into yourself. And oh, I spent 40,000 on this, I spent 20,000 on this. So those are just talking points. That doesn't necessarily mean that you got the value out of that $20,000. If you spent $20,000 and it did not add any true intrinsic or monetary value to your life, then you just wasted $20,000.
Yeah.
So when you get into a situation like the situation room where even if you're spending $50 to $100 a month or whatever you're spending on in a group like that, if you upon entry, you have access to something. We'll say whether a document, some messaging, meaning like somebody wrote in the Telegram group, or a video that you can go back and review that can show you specifically, if the steps are followed, specifically how to make, we'll just say X, meaning like X could be any dollar amount, whether it's equal to what you paid or 10 times what you paid to be a part of the situation room.
Hmm.
Then you, for sure, that's the monetary value. The intrinsic value is somebody that you have that has access to you, you have access to them, and being able to run ideas, have a conversation outside of, oh, you just lined my pockets with $200 this month. There's no sense in me talking to you. Like, I'm on my jet. Like, nigga, holla at my secretary. like
Yeah.
that's intrinsic value where you can definitely tap into people where we can do a thing like JV 2023 or JV 23, where me and Jay can have a conversation about a particular asset, whether it's a business that we want to buy or a real estate transaction that we want to buy. And of course, he's going to do his fair share of research. I'm going to do my fair share of research. And then we're going to bring that research that we've both done collectively together and make a decision and invest together.
Facts.
That in itself is beyond different from a lot of other things that I've been a part of, that I've dove out that 10,000 or that $5,000 for, right?
Hmm.
You don't have to necessarily push or to beg people to see an endeavor to fruition in a group like this. You have to beg anybody because people are actively trying to engage and be involved with something that's moving forward.
Yeah. And then you have that element of this, right? And this is one of the things that I always hated. And so let's say you spent five figures to get into a group,
Yeah.
and you listen to all of these calls or the Zooms or whatever the case may be, and they give you just enough info. Never the whole thing is just always just enough, right? And then you get to this point where you be like, look, it's I the tone changes to I done gave you the info, it's up to you to go execute. But you left off pieces.
Hella pieces.
Right. You left off major pieces to the situation, and then you come back along and be like, all right, for another 5 figures, you can get 101 and XYZ.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like how you gonna bash the people you claim you mentoring
Mm-hmm.
or coaching or whatever terminology you want to call yourself or whatever you say you doing, and then you're not giving them the whole slice of the thing. You only giving them bits and pieces, and then telling them to go execute and figure out the rest on their own.
Right.
And then when they don't, or they just disgruntled, or they uh demoralized from trying and not succeeding, then you want to be like it's their fault. Like you
Right.
don't know accountability. Where's the accountability for that? Where's the accountability on you? Because you stepped up and said this, that, and the third.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't come find you and tell you to go stand up there and scream from the mountaintop. This is what you do. This is what you
Right.
say.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If this is what you say, this is what you brag about, this is what you post about, this is what you floss with, this is what you advertise. This is you. You said these things.
Yep.
I came because you said this, and that's something that I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Now you done got my bread. Now is you know what I'm saying.
You
I'm too
ain't.
I'm too busy doing this. I slide through there once a month, man, and give you a little bit of something. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause when I see that, it becomes a point. Okay, you you in either you don't know or you don't want competition with yourself.
Right.
One of the two things. Because it's easy to say this thing, but all your revenue is coming from this thing.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
So everything that you're using to attract people with is coming from the people giving you money, hoping to get this thing over here that you can't deliver on.
Right. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of that going on.
Right. That's where I have a problem with in the game.
Yeah.
That's the part that I'm trying to. I can't. This can't exist no more. This is the wrong time, the wrong energy, and the wrong era to be playing that game.
Right.
It's too many people out here consciously waking up that's looking for certain pieces to be able to be different than what it's ever been in history. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And then you got these type of motherfuckers that just killing it off.
Right.
Because you can't we see people all the time, man, that's hungry on the grind, trying to figure out, trying to get it, especially the young ones.
Yeah. And they leveraging tons of technology, research, etc.
All of that.
Yep.
I'm saying you're not catering to them. You study up here on your high horse screaming from the mountaintop with all this extra lifestyle marketing and all this goofy stuff to the point where you so arrogant that you oh man, I can go on for days, man. You got to the point where you so arrogant that you like people make comments that it's so me focused they don't even hear themselves.
Right.
It's
It,
I.
it,
It's
it's
I.
almost if you were had to get a diagnosis, and then if you were to bring that to that individual or these individuals that are in this influencer space, and you were to bring that to them, they likely to call you a hater um or be trying to bring all kinds of things instead of being a receiver of information and maybe make some slight or major adjustments, right? But
I
one
just
thing
never.
about those.
I don't know. Maybe it's the era I grew up in, right? Like I grew up in that era where you didn't whatever you acquired through by whatever means you acquired it, you didn't
Mhm.
tell nobody what it was you had. Let somebody
Right.
was around you that saw it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like it was always an assumption and a maybe. It was never a confirmation.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You might be able to tell dude got some bread because he got on, a link chain or, maybe, a little car. His everyday car is better than what most people drive. You had an idea, but it was never a confirmation. You,
Right.
you really never knew. You had an idea, but he dang sure wasn't gonna tell you.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't fit to tell you, uh, hey man, yeah man, I got $1 million over here, or I made $1 million. I don't know where it came to where people just telling their whole business.
Yeah, that's a whole different. It's a whole different. I don't know, man. I can't even speak to it because I don't. That's not like. I'm gonna tell you a scenario. Not a scenario, but a story my mom told me. She said her mom had owned 7 or 8 properties, right?
Mm-hmm.
But her mom was still being like um what do they call them? Like a housekeeper for these rich white folks, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so my mom at a probably a 13, 14-year-old age was thinking like, well, we got all of these properties where cousins are renting and they're paying you rent. Why are you working for these white people? And
Mm-hmm.
to the point to where my mom said, hey, um, why are you getting the clothes from them? Now, mind you, my mom was saying these clothes were like still had the tags on them
Mm-hmm.
because they was rich white kids. They never wore these clothes. And so she had a conversation with her mom, and she told her my mom told my mom well, my grandma told my mom was you never let them know what you have because the moment you let them know what you have, they feel like you don't need anything.
Mm-hmm.
Feel like you can't like they feel like they don't even want to they don't want you working for them. They don't want you like when you tell people you're at this level. And that goes even for the fact that my Instagram name is Rich Before 50. So people feel they may even make a statement as like, well, why should I buy? Because he's already, and it's a kind of a crazy mentality, a crazy thought. If I'm giving you value, I'm giving you goods, buy it because the other stuff, it doesn't even apply to the other people because if that was the case, you wouldn't buy a Mercedes, you wouldn't buy any of the other major name brands because they're already well off. In
Yeah.
fact, way well off more so than I am. But anyway, it's just a crazy mentality that people think that you have to tout what you have, but when you're touting it, you're proving it to who? Or you're sharing it with who?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They
I
talked about the attire of some of the people that are in the top 100 wealthy people. They weren't wearing the same stuff. They talk about how we've never really had true wealth, so we like to wear it on us as if we were wealthy.
yeah. Because you want somebody to know. You want somebody to. That's why I said like I grew up in that era where like it was an assumption, but it wasn't a confirmation.
Yeah.
People out here now, they just telling whether it's true or not. Well, that's why a lot of people you hear stories about people like getting like you knew for instance, it's certain areas where you grew up and on that side of town, you knew the type of people that lived on that side of town.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But when you see them out every day, they look like average people.
Yep.
You don't know until you see them. Oh, they live over there. Oh, they must got bread because
And they. Yep.
right. You know what I'm saying? And it was even to the point where like you like okay they must be doctors or they must be lawyers or they must be something or CEOs or something or whatever the case may be. It was like that or and even those individuals though they may had a nice car but it wasn't over the top. The ones
Right.
that but it was always one or two in there that may have a situation that was over the top, but you only saw it like maybe on the weekends or something like that.
Right.
Social
Right.
media now, since social media here, everybody wants you to know what they got.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They tell their whole business to the
Yep.
point even going into the bank getting money. They showing that.
Mm-hmm.
They telling how much I made this month. They telling that. I seen the post today. Oh, I made 100K already. Why? Why even? What's the? I don't. That logic. I mean, call me old school, but that logic just don't sit well with me. You
It's
know?
it's it's oftentimes uh you are wanting to say that you can accomplish these things, meaning talking to the mass. However, there is a large subsect of people that are looking at it as if you may be bragging, number one, or number two, you are now my new target. like, 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 there are real life killers out here that want what you are posting.
Yeah, I just never. I mean, that's like I said, that's an element I grew up in. So that just something like was a no no.
Yeah,
Like you just didn't do that. In
yeah,
certain environments, you would, like I said, just certain environments, certain things that you knew that you were like, oh well, bro might be all right, bro might be well off, but it wasn't just flamboyant like it is
right.
in this age, and I just don't get that. I don't understand it. But I guess that's that became
Yeah,
the staple of confirmation, I guess, in this age and shit. Like if you don't show yourself stunting, or you don't show yourself flossing, or you don't show yourself with bands in your hands and all that. But when I peek behind the curtain on some of them same individuals, you find out that it's all cap.
right. The big cap, the sombrero.
Yeah. So
Another counter response to that, because there was a post that was out that said it only seems like I'm bragging to those that, or it's something to that effect, like it only seems like I'm bragging to those that aren't happy that I'm doing whatever. Or so there's a difference between me and Jay talking about a transaction that has occurred that was prosperous for me, right? Or a group of people that are, are entrusted, or the people that I actually, but even within that, right, there's still a level of people that have a trait, and I call it a character defect, but they have a trait that's an envious trait, right? Not everybody has this trait though. Be very clear. There's some people that have they come from a serious and genuine place of, I'm happy for you. How can I be a part of this? Like,
mhm.
like, not to say I want what you have, but how can I be a part of this? How can I add value to this so I can gain some of that value and gain some of the same blessings you're getting? Right. The thing about it is, when we post something in an atmosphere on a social media platform, we're not just sharing it with entrusted people. It's people that are part of that character defect part, and there's people that are part of that. I If my occupation every day was to find people I can hit a lick on. When I say hit a lick, for everybody that's not familiar with this terminology, it's a little bit of slang, but hit a lick mean I see you got something, I'm about to take what you have for my own. Basically hit a lick. That's what I mean. And there are people that real life, that's what they do. That's what they do. That's how they've been able to effectively gain access to the things that they have.
Yeah.
Whether it's to credit card sliders, to stealing your social security number. Cleared $100,000 this week, or the person that has two Bentleys in the garage, or the person that has $1 million in crypto, or whatever the case may be, because you posted it all on the social media.
Yeah, it's all this. I guess it's all status, man. I guess without status, I guess no credibility comes without the status. I guess, I guess that's what we coming to. But this 2023 to shake a whole lot of them bad lemons off the tree. I can tell you that, but
That's a fact.
that's what it fit be. So that's why it falls back to the story of this whole lie, and that is do your own research.
Yeah.
Just don't take the shiny object. Just don't buy into the hype. Like ask around, dig into, find out what you need to find out, make sound decisions. because this year is not the year to be taking no L's.
Yeah.
It is not. It is not. It is not the move. Cannot be taking no L's in 2023. Because it's going to get tight out here. There's some rules for the change. It's the industry is changing as a whole. So make wise choices. And I think the first wise choice you should make is join the situation room. Selfish plug. Sorry.
Oh. You're gonna get a second out of me, and if all those in favor to say, all right, I'm gonna get all of that. Situation room for everybody. If you're in California, and particularly if you're in Northern California, I know the weather's been pretty rough. I know it's been raining. I know we've had some rainstorms and we had some flooding, but on January 7th, I will be speaking with a group of cadre in regards to how things you can do with your finances, how you can gain some additional income, as well as being able to leverage resources and information in Oakland, January 7th, 2 to 6. You can go to Eventbrite. It's a free event. Free is not synonymous with no value. I'll say it again. Free is not synonymous with no value. Um, Oftentimes, what I try to do is one up myself. Anytime I present, anytime I go on live, anytime I do a training session, I try to one up myself. So there's going to be information that was not presented in the last free event that we gave. So you don't want to miss it. January 7th in Oakland at Revelations Ministry. You can go to Eventbrite and just type in Feed the Town. Feed the Town. On Eventbrite, it'll pop up. You'll see an event for Feed the Town. That's what we're doing. We're feeding the town.
Yeah, man.
Plug, it ain't shameless at all.
At all. Tap into the Situation Room. www.thesituationroom.co. $50 a month. Well worth the value. Promise you. Every Friday we do lives, teaching, education, hacks, all that inside. And 24 hours, 24/7 support for you.
Off top. So how long we been here, man?
An hour. That's why we time. That's why we time. You know what I mean? Hour worth of game.
Off top. That's what's up.
As we always say, man, follow my boy Rich Before 50 _ on Instagram. I'm the Yoda Knows, man. Tap in, tap out. Either or. We here.
Access Capital in the building.
All day. You see, man. Oh, boom.